the president and CEO of Democracy Forward, which is a nonpartisan national legal organization promoting democracy and progress through litigation, engaging with regulatory strategies and policy education, research. She has her work cut out for her. That's right. From Democracy Forward, and they are democracyforward.org. We'll have a link to them under this conversation. Skye Perryman, everyone. Hello, Skye.
Hi. Should I put my credibility glasses on?
Oh, yours are better than mine. How dare you? How dare you come onto my show and right away you come over the top with better glasses?
Well, you can actually see the ring light, so you're set up better.
Oh,
so I'm going to go ahead
you.
and take mine off. But
Okay.
I like your glasses, Mark. It's good to see you.
I gave in to, I would have no glasses on, but I gave in to the fact that I can't read notes and stuff unless I have them on.
The glasses are helpful. They make things look
exactly.
better.
They make you see better, as it turns out. Hey, Skye Perryman, welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you. And wow, do you have your hands full? Tell me what your to-do list looks like, given these full frontal attacks on democracy.
Well, it's quite large, but we've got a great team at Democracy Forward. We've brought over 150 legal actions already, and we're only at about 250 days of this administration, and the list keeps getting longer. So right now, we're really hoping and in court to help make sure that the American people don't get penalized by the president during this shutdown. So that's a piece. And of course, we're after that home and video too, and have filed suit, as you know, to get the video from the government. They've not responded as the law requires them to our Freedom of Information Act request. So
and that's a big part of what you. That's a big part of what you do, though. These FOIA requests and really leaning in on those requests.
That's one thing. I mean, this is an administration that's been uninterested in transparency. For an administration that likes to go on social media and go on all kinds of new media channels and act like they're being transparent, they're really not. And so we have found that getting into the courtroom has forced the administration to have to reveal what it's doing. So we file a lot of Freedom of Information Act requests. We litigate a lot of Freedom of Information Act requests, but we also have been able to uncover what the administration's doing just in the basic lawsuits we file to protect people's rights.
What does a lawsuit to protect people's rights look like? Give us a sense of, you said you have a lot of legal action going, and indeed you have, almost 200 different legal cases apparently. Give me a sense and give us a sense of what those legal cases look like.
Absolutely. Well, one of them, and we have a range of them, but just one example, when the president decided at noon in the middle of a weekday that the next day he was going to cut off federal funding to every community and every program across the country, which would have put things like Meals on Wheels and Head Start and things that people rely on every day in this country that, by the way, a lot of communities that are seen as red communities, like where I grew up, rural communities, they rely on these services really to a greater extent than large cities and blue communities. We went to court and we stopped the national funding freeze. Money is flowing to communities as they need it to. We stopped the president. We went to court when he withheld over $6 billion from public education budgets, which would have wrecked our school budgets in the school year. We had to take him to court to get them to release those funds. We went to court in the middle of the night in March when they were shuffling, alongside our friends at the ACLU, when they were shuffling men onto planes to remove them, to take them to El Salvador without ever even having asked them a question about whether they committed a crime, why were they in the United States, anything. So that's obviously suits to protect people's rights. We protect people's right to speak out. This administration has tried to intimidate and terrorize and punish groups like the American Bar Association, groups like community programs that are just speaking out about their own perspective. So we go to court on that too. So it's a range of things. And we want everybody to know, including all the folks that are hitting like and coming into this show, that there are lawyers that are going to work every single day to make sure that as much as we can, that the American people are protected.
Yeah, again, it's democracyforward.org, and we'll have a link to your site under this video. So as you look at these court cases, the way they're proceeding, as you suggest, these legal challenges that you have to face, that this administration is serving up by the hour, tell me how you game this out. Again, some of this stuff you'll be able to have an effect on, and some of it is exists independent of your ability to have any effect on it. So as you see the attack on American cities, as you see
Yep.
these attacks, as you suggest, on quote illegal immigrants, but it's sort of a gill net approach, and they grab everything out of the ocean of people, and they take those who may legitimately have run afoul of the law, along with what looks like the lion's share of people who are perfectly fine, have
Yep.
no criminal record or any kind of troubled history whatsoever. Game this out for me legally. I'm curious as to your perspective because you are so deep in it.
Well, we do two things. One way we know what they're going to do, and we don't know everything. There are certain things that aren't on the bingo card. No one knew that the president was going to take office and appoint Elon Musk to come run roughshod over Washington. I mean, that nobody knew that. But they are very good at saying what they're going to do. Project 2025 lays it out. The president has now this week admitted that he's implementing Project 2025, the first time he's admitted it, but we've known it. We've known it since last year that this was the plan. So we can look at what they've said they're going to do. When the president says he's going to be a dictator, that he needs generals like Hitler had. I mean, these are quotes from the president. We take those very seriously, and we're able to get as prepared as possible. That's one piece. The other piece is, what do you do to affect change when you have a president and an administration that does seem clearly intent on governing in a way where they're not going to be held accountable, or they don't want to be held accountable to people. And we have met their shock and awe with the American people's version of shock and awe. So we want to make sure this administration understands. And by the way, they do, which is why Stephen Miller is out threatening judges that the president himself appointed. We want to make sure that they understand that when they take steps to undermine people's rights, when they put the military in cities, when they do things that are un-American and unconstitutional and harmful, that they will have to go to court to answer to the American people. The courts are ruling against this administration left and right. Truly, judges that the president himself appointed have ruled against him in so many cases. There have been about 500 cases in the last 250 days overall, and they're not going well for the president, which is why he's attacking lawyers, he's attacking judges. He doesn't want the American people to use the court, so he's making claims like the courts don't matter. But all of that is part of them trying to really cover up for the fact that they're losing so much in court. But then there are some areas where we've won big court orders, and the Supreme Court on its shadow docket has overturned some of the wins that we've had, at least practically speaking. They haven't said what the president's doing is lawful. They've not ruled on that, but without explanation, they're using their shadow docket. And there we've even found that you can find wins in that too, because the piece of this is really about people using their power to push back. That is the only thing that the last 250 days have shown, is that if you confront this head on with all the tools that people have, using their voices, going to court, this administration does back down in some instances. And so we're going to be there to force them to back down. And then in instances where they're deeply committed, they seem deeply committed for some reason to having the military in the streets, we're going to be there alongside other lawyers. You've seen the state attorneys general doing a great job. We're going to be there to call them and to force them to have to justify over and over every day to the American people what they're doing, because this is an extremism that the vast majority of Americans reject.
In our last minute or two, I just want to ask you about that shadow docket to which you referred,
Yeah.
because my understanding is that, yeah, they can make a ruling with the shadow docket, but what the shadow docket allows them to do is go back on that ruling, first of all, and meaning they can fill it out and find a different way to rule. Also, they have to go on the record. Beyond the shadow docket, you don't have to go on the record, with any kind of explanation or even ownership at the Supreme Court level with the shadow docket decision. But now that they are back in session, there will have to be ownership. There will have to be detail, and maybe even reversal of the shadow docket decision. Can you just put a point on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, this Supreme Court has a legitimacy crisis. Justice Roberts, I mean, he's concerned about the legacy of the court and his own legacy. There is a major legitimacy crisis. Americans of all political backgrounds don't like the idea of a court, sitting up on benches without describing what they're ruling on, what their reasoning is, and just making decisions without any type of explanation. So that's why the shadow docket is so harmful. powerful. But you're correct. These shadow docket decisions don't last forever. The court either has to take the case on the merits, or the case will play out in the lower courts. In many instances, when we have a shadow docket decision, we're still vigorously litigating and pursuing these cases in the lower courts. And eventually those court orders will persist, or the Supreme Court will have to take it up, explain what they're doing, and you can see things shift. We know that the shadow docket is really frustrating for so many Americans that are getting hurt when they block the relief that we've been able to seek for them. But we also want people to understand it's actually not the end of the story here, that there will be, and every day we see that, you live to fight another day, and that there is more that can be done. And you'll see that in this merits term. I mean, the Supreme Court's going to have to put it right out there on birthright citizenship, so many things.
You're from Texas? Is that where you're from originally?
I am. Yeah.
How did you find your way to the light and so many Texans don't?
There are so many Texans that, Texas is a big place. People forget that, but you're talking about a state that's between 20 and 30 million people. So there are more people in Texas that believe in democracy, that believe in civil rights for all people, than there are in total populations in many states across this country. So we're proud in Texas that the president from Texas signed the Voting Rights Act, that so many of the civil rights battles originated in Texas and were hard fought. And there's a lot of fighters in Texas. And
I love that. You're so right to remind me of that. LBJ and
Barbara Jordan,
yeah.
Ann Richards.
Sure, real heavy lifting.
Leon Jaworski. I mean, you want to get real into it. The Nuremberg trials, right? Yeah,
sure. And the female leadership in Texas, really distinguished.
Sarah Weddington argued and won Roe v. Wade at the age of 26. Texas lawyer.
And last thing on Texas, just because I mentioned it. It was talked about as a purplish state for a while, and I think some of the recent headlines associated with Texas and Texas politics has sort of forced that kind of conversation into the background. But you're right, of course, that there is.
What has happened in Texas, and this is something everybody across the country should look at, is if people would have paid attention to what was happening in Texas, to the religious extremism in Texas, to the money in politics in Texas, to an extreme, very far right movement that is far beyond traditional conservatism. People would have paid attention to that several decades ago, as opposed to saying, well, that's just Texas. We wouldn't be in this place as a country. And so I think that the fight began there. It will continue there. And of course, we're going to do this work all across the country.
Well, one thing about you is that you encourage me, and I'm almost unencourageable. So somehow you do it, and I really applaud you and the organization. Again, democracyforward.org. There's a click through under this video. Congratulations on the cool glasses. You and I will rock our glasses.
Do it.
We'll rock our glasses to our next conversation. And I look forward to the next time. So thanks so much for being here, Skye.
Thanks.
All right. All of it. Skye Perryman, everybody. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.